Greetings, YouTube! The Doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary for Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are talking about the spell Dirge from Heroes of Faerun, Forgotten Realms. This is a banger of a spell. You are going to want to cast this. It is definitely up to the level that it is, which is 6th level. So we're going to talk about this. A lot more stuff about it. Stay tuned and don't go away. All right, before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, and don't forget to share this video. All right, Dirge is a level 6 spell. It takes 1 action to cast. It's a range of self, 60-foot emanation. It is only a verbal component. That is a change from some of the other spells that we have seen, which have had terrible material components in them. This has a duration of 1 minute. Concentration. School is enchantment of all things, but we're going to see why. It does have a con save, which is not the greatest, and it does necrotic damage also, but there are ways around that. And it is a spell that is usable by bards and clerics. And the bard thing, that is primarily why this is an enchantment school spell. So, Deathly Power fills a 60-foot emanation originating from you for the duration. Never fear, however, when you cast this spell, you can designate creatures to be unaffected by it. So, it's not one of these friendly fire spells. It is a spell that will target effectively what you want. So, any other creature cannot regain hit points while in the emanation. Whenever the emanation enters a creature space, or whenever a creature enters the emanation or ends its turn there, the creature makes a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d10 necrotic damage and has the prone condition. So they're knocked over by the power of your Dirge. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and its speed is halved. So there is a thing that happens if it fails a saving throw. A creature makes this save only once per turn, meaning if you're going to push it in there on another turn, not within the same round, it is going to be subject to the effects. Now, this whenever the emanation enters or whenever a creature enters or ends, that is very typical language for D&D 2024. And there is a rider on this spell, and the rider is casting as a circle spell. So we're going to talk about that. But, and that just adds a whole bunch more. But what do we think about this spell? What grade are we going to give this spell? We are going to give this spell a solid A. It is a solid A. So, no bones about it. Just from not even the circle casting stuff, doing 3d10 psychic damage and knocking things prone every round is nasty, and they can't regain hit points either. So there's 3 things that are taking place there, and they fail a save, they're taking half as much damage, and their speed is halved, which means it's hard for them to get out. So all awesome options for this spell. So let's bring this back over here, and let's talk about this casting as a circle stuff. So casting this spell as a circle, so we need more than one caster. We're going to talk about the rules for that a little bit. Casting this spell as a circle spell requires a minimum of 2 secondary casters. So that means you have to have 3 people who can cast spells. If the spell is cast as a circle, its duration becomes concentration up to 10 minutes. Do you really need it for 10 minutes? No. Most combats only, and this is definitely a combat spell. Most combat spells only last for about 4 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. 10 minutes is a bit much unless you're doing some dungeon running and you want this spell to last as you are going from room to room. So you may be able to get through 2 to 4 different encounters. All right, let's keep going here. A creature that fails a saving throw against the spell's effects also gains 1 exhaustion level. So that's every time they fail a saving throw, they gain a level of exhaustion, which we're going to talk about exhaustion too, because exhaustion is nasty. While the creature has exhaustion levels, finishing a long rest neither restores lost hit points nor reduces the creature's exhaustion level, which means you are going to need some kind of restoration spell to get rid of those levels of exhaustion. That's harsh. When the spell is cast, each secondary caster must expend a level 4 plus spell slot, otherwise the spell fails. So you need 3 casters who all can cast 4th level spells or higher. So that's the catch with this one. But the circle power of this is nasty. Exhaustion level whenever they fail a save, and they cannot restore hit points, and they cannot reduce the exhaustion level after finishing a long rest. Normally you can get rid of an exhaustion level from finishing a long rest. All right, let's talk about circle magic here. So this is when we cast spells with multiple casters. So this is a 1 action. There it is. It's a 1 action casting time, which means the initial caster, the primary caster, takes a magic action and then chooses the circle casting option, which would be the special option for the spell. And then the secondary casters, in which this case that special option requires 2 more, requires 1 or more that lend their magic, and they have to have a 4th level spell or higher, and they have to be able to do spell casting. So after you initiate the spell, each secondary caster takes the magic action to contribute to the spell. A secondary caster can take this action only while within 30 feet and before the start of your next turn. So you can ready a magic action, by the way. And so you could have, but it has to be after you initiate the spell. That's the thing. So you'll have to work that out. But essentially, it's going to take 3 actions for each one of these folks to do this. So you could have somebody ready to take the magic action to contribute to a spell once the spell is initiated, and then they go bam, 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 all in a row, and the spell takes effect at that point. And then you complete the casting, and if the spell is a casting time of 1 minute or more, each secondary caster must take a magic action. So this one is an action. So if the spell has a casting time of action, the circle spell's effects occur immediately after the final caster. So remember I said we got 2 casters that need to have 4th level spells or higher. Each one readies a magic action to contribute to the spell once the spell has been initiated. Primary caster initiates the spell. Ready to action, go. Spell goes off. That immediate second. And you can choose which secondary caster is the final one, and then it just goes. And then you can take one of these options, or you can take the option which is in Spell Dirge. Now, let's talk about exhaustion, because that is a thing that happens. Every time a creature fails a con saving throw against this spell, they gain a level of exhaustion if it was cast as a circle magic spell. So this condition is cumulative. Each time you receive it, you gain 1 exhaustion level. You die if your exhaustion level is 6. That is nasty. So you make D20 tests. When you make D20 tests, the roll is reduced by 2 times your exhaustion level. So if your exhaustion level is 3, then you subtract 6. Your speed is reduced by a number of feet equal to 5 times your exhaustion level. That is, if it's 3, it's reduced by 15. Finishing a long rest removes 1 exhaustion. However, the writer says that you cannot do that. So you're going to need another way to do it, which is a restoration spell. That is nasty. Now, let me say this about the Dirge spell. I want you, as if you are a dungeon master, to imagine you have a creature, an enemy that casts this spell onto the players. 1, they can't regain hit points while they're in the emanation. There's no saving throw for that. That just happens. Done. 2, if they fail their save, they're taking damage and they are knocked prone. If this is cast as a circle spell and it happens to last for 6 rounds and somebody fails 6 of those saves, they die. So this is a great spell for dungeon masters. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. So I want to talk about some subclasses that I think are important for this one. We've got Bard of Eloquence here. And why do I say that? Because we've got unsettling words. You can spin your words with magic that unsettle a creature and cast doubt on it. And as a bonus action, you can expend one of your Bardic Inspiration and choose a creature within 60 feet. Roll the Bardic Inspiration die. Then they have to subtract from their next saving throw for the Bard spell. And if it's this one with the circle stuff, that is very bad. And for clerics, we've got Death Domain. And I picked Death Domain just because the flavor-wise, it goes with it. It has a few other extra things. You got the Reaper. The cleric learns one necromancy cantrip when the cleric casts a necromancy cantrip that normally targets only one. This doesn't matter. However, we've got inescapable destruction. So necrotic damage dealt by the character's cleric spells and channel divinity ignores resistance to necrotic damage. So that's one of the ways that we can get around resistance to necrotic damage, but we can't get around the immunity to it. So I like this better for a bard than I do a cleric. I think the Bard of Eloquence goes just great with this. All right. Dirge, A-level spell, absolutely all day long. And it even goes up to an A+ if we cast it as a circle spell. Dungeon Masters, I would really encourage you to look at this spell and think about it. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody